Hello, 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 and welcome. Hello, 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 everybody. I'm back again. Um, Hope everybody's good. Cool. Today we're going to be doing some refactoring, and that should be fun because, uh, yeah, doing some refactoring on some of the components and designs that we've done. So let me just adjust my mic, bring it lower. Good. Yeah, so I'm refactoring some of the designs that we've done because Figma has released some awesome features. Mm. If you hear some background noise, that's because I don't live alone. So yeah, this should be fun. Um, we're gonna explore a couple of concepts today. I think I just wanna ease it in to a point where we're all comfortable. So there's a lot of new stuff that has come in. You can see even the interface has changed. There's dev mode, which is also super cool. Uh, there's design updates, so I'm just gonna select anything random. Today we're gonna be focusing on minimum width and maximum width. I would like to start working with variables, but I think I'm putting together something that will uh, be a bit more comprehensive, so I don't want anyone left behind. This is a tutorial type video as opposed to just documenting my process. So we're going to be looking at minimum and maximum width. We're going to be also looking at minimum height and maximum height. And let me just quickly see. Yeah, let's start with this one. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. And I'll start off. So, I mean, at this point, this is from my last video, I believe. Let me check. Where's Chrome? Typically, when I stream or record, my computer decides, hey, it doesn't want to do anything that I want. So, hopefully, one day I can monetize my channel and get myself a bigger MacBook Pro. Or maybe some other miracle can happen. Yeah, so this table is from my last uh, video, and we're gonna refactor it, right? So how this table was built is we've got individual components. We have a content component, we have a row component. Row component is equal to content plus a checkbox. Why did I do it this way? I find it's just easy to manage. This should be selected. So we're going to be refactoring this so that it includes a minimum and maximum width. And we're also going to apply the wrap. So I just want to explain a couple of concepts. Let me just see if this is open. To start off, let's do this, right? Let's draw a rectangle. So this rectangle is going to be, and you can see, you start seeing that you can actually apply variables. If I had some applied here, or if I had a library which had variables. So I'm currently updating Quasi to have variables so that when I publish those variables from her, I can inherit them in all of the other projects. But I haven't gotten to do anything yet. I'll get to do something very soon, so hopefully we can do that together as well. But for this purpose, I'm just gonna bring up Token Studio. Token Studio at least has my stored variables in GitHub or from GitHub, so I can reuse them across different files. I think the only limitation with the Token Studio has my tokens, not variables, but the Figma variables that currently have been unleashed or unreleased, they don't. There isn't a way that I've seen that you could reuse the variables across different files. But that's fine. So what I'm gonna do, and you see how you have sizing and spacing tokens here with the variables. You could have, maybe let me see if I can minimize this, and let's try and play around with this. So let's create a variable. We're gonna create a number variable. We're gonna call it dimension. We're gonna no, actually let's give it, let's say xxxs, and we're gonna call that 2. So it should be actually extra small. And you can, what you can also do is you can scope it. So you can say show in all supported properties, or you can say apply to corner radius, gap, and width and height. I don't want it to be applied in the text context, but yeah, you can actually apply it in all the spacing, so you don't have to have different tokens like we have here. So here we have spacing and sizing tokens, which I think is good, but it's all a number token. It's all a number variable, so you could actually just use numbers throughout. So yeah, one day when we get to do, not one day, but very soon, I probably will do it tomorrow. I'll start there. So what I want to do is I'm going to create I'm going to give it a color. Let's also give it a border radius, maybe of, what do we have here? 8. 8 is fine. All. Right. And now what we can do is we can wrap that one in an auto layout. Let's open up our shortcuts so we can share. So I'm just demonstrating how to actually make use of the new updates from Figma. So the other shortcuts, cool. You can see, wonderful. Cool. So Shift A, we're gonna call this container. Cool. And then let's minimize this. We don't need it now. Let's just keep it there in the corner. So we have, oh sorry, I just want to give the container itself a background. Cool. Let's give it a nice light background so you can see what it's what. Cool. So everything is 16. Padding gap is 16, which is fine. I think I'm happy with that. But now we want a certain behavior. So what we want is we want to repeat the little rectangles and have them hit a certain point, then start going to the next line. And for that, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to wrap it again in another auto layout, and I'm going to call that one wrapper. Why do I do this? Why do I write in all caps? What am I shouting at? Cool. So I'm going to call that one wrapper. I like it to be center lined, and I'm going to give that the instruction to wrap. Right, and you see, as soon as I turn on wrap, then I have gap for horizontal items. I have gap for vertical items. Right now, vertical item gaps is not available for edit because I don't have any vertical items, but I'll also specify, I'll just command click in there and then specify 16 padding for that. Okay. So now we can give our wrapper, which we've selected here. I can delete this, I think. Never mind. Let's just focus. We can select our wrapper and give our wrapper a maximum width. We're gonna give our wrapper a maximum width of 1200, and then we're gonna let's leave it at that, right? Let's give it a width of 1200. So right now this container is set to hug its children. The wrapper is set to hug its children in terms of width, and the only thing that's fixed is the rectangle. I'm gonna just make that an even number of 250. So if I duplicate this, hopefully this works, but if I duplicate this, then I should get to a point where if I have enough rectangles, they will start flowing to the next line. So let's go and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see? So I start hitting the next line automatically. Now that's great. So that means creating things like grids has become much more easier. But now there's some kind of a limitation here in the sense that it's not responsive. So if I created this, I'm just gonna delete some of these. Don't need that many. So I'm gonna instruct this wrapper to fill its container, and I'm gonna center align the wrapper within the container. So you'll be able to see now that it's center aligned. And then I'm gonna instruct all the rectangles to fill the container. So what happens now is that even if I stretch the container beyond 1200 pixels, the wrapper itself doesn't go beyond that, which is cool. Now each individual rectangle is gonna get a minimum width. So I made these rectangles, but now they filled, so it's 378. So I'm gonna say, okay, when it gets to 300, it can no longer resize down. That's minimum width essentially. So if I drag the handles on this, then you see that as soon as that the rectangle inside gets to 300, it then starts to go to the next line. And that's truly responsive behavior. And you only need one frame to do this now. So which is super cool. So let's recap. What did we do? 1, we drew a rectangle, right? 2, we wrapped that rectangle in a wrapper, and after wrapping the rectangle in a wrapper, we have given the wrapper element a maximum width. We can also give it a minimum width. So in some cases, maybe you have a container and you don't want that. You'll see that you'll see that the wrapper gets below the width of the children, and the children remain fixed at 300. So we can say that, okay, cool. What we want the wrapper to have a minimum width of maybe how much? 316, or maybe 332 actually, because we have padding on either side, right? So the wrapper should have that much, but because the wrapper doesn't have a background color, I think it's gonna be too many colors, but we'll just see. Yeah. Right, cool. And we want the container also to have a minimum width. Or we could say to the container that always hug your children. So now what you're seeing is, let's resize it, right? So and now we need to give this one the instruction to fill fill its container. So we have the container which hugs the wrapper, which the wrapper which hugs the children. And when it gets to a certain level, it doesn't go beyond that, right? Oh, we didn't do it for the container, did we not? We didn't specify a minimum width. So this is 332 plus another 32. We'll say 364. Oh, we'll just say 360. I think it's fine. So when the container gets there, it just doesn't go below that size. Right? That's super cool. And so we can set our container to hug, height of the container to hug at all times. And now you should be able to, design one screen and that your job should be done. Lol. Right? So that's the responsive behavior in nature that we want to accomplish. And this is simple enough, right? It's just 3 principles. You give a fixed width to, you'll see that we have a minimum width. So a minimum width of 300 in each child, right? And the wrapper for that has a maximum width as well as a minimum width. Then we have a container, which is the overall container, that has a minimum width of 360. So at this point, you could say that your screens are always 1414 in width, and the smallest screen that you have is maybe 320. And you can design for that by allowing its children to always be to always fill the container, but have a maximum and a minimum width. That makes responsive design that much more easier. So I think that these features that Figma has given to us, these are gonna save us so much time as designers. And I'm particularly excited because I really didn't like the fact that we would need to design in triplicate or duplicate depending on the project that you're on. If you're designing an app, for example, you also sort of expect it to cater for tablet, right? And this is just the surface, like a very tiny surface, little scratch, dent on the surface. Because once you start integrating or start using things like variables, right, where on the keynote, the Figma config keynote, the dude, or Dylan, the CEO, was showing us that you could actually have string tokens where you can actually translate from one language to another, or you could have modes, light and dark mode, and these could be they could be triggered in scenes, so to say, or you could actually drag a frame from one section to another, and maybe a section has a global, it's a dark mode or whatever, and tablet, and you can actually do it that way, right? If you set up your variables correctly, I'll show you in another video that's coming. Maybe we'll do a live for that one as well. But in another video that's coming, it's what I also want to do, is start playing around with the variables, start trying to find ways to make my work a lot more efficient, right? So that's exciting. Hope that made some sense. Yeah, so without further ado, we're going to have to refactor some of the work we've done. In this sense, there's a lot of things that I'm cognizant of. So I want to come in here and see all of the cells are given a specific width. So I'll add a minimum width like we've done just now. I'll say the minimum is going to be 120. Maximum should always be, let's say, 160, because that's how we designed the cell tokens, right? So that means that if I resize this, it will get to a point where it doesn't want to resize, which is good, right? So that is a cell, and I'm just going to set it the children to fill the parent. Then what we do mm, is I want to set this one to wrap, right? And I'm going to say wrap there. And you're starting to see some strange behavior going on there. And that's what I'm a bit worried about. Um, and we might find ourselves having to see if another method might not work for us. But you see that immediately we start to see that our content wraps. So as soon as it starts to hit a certain width, the children start to hit maybe 120, they start to wrap. But now my only issue is this, is that it doesn't make for a good experience, right? And I hate it when I'm looking at a table on mobile and that table uh, looks like trash, because simply what has been done is that the rows just they just wrap to the next line, and there's no consideration for how would I say, there's no consideration for the user's experience on mobile. I think um, one of the things that I wanted to do, no, I think I know what I'll do. So I'll just give this a minimum width. I'll give the content itself a minimum width. And then for the cells, I'll strip them of their minimum and maximum width. I know, I think, let's just explore it. Let's see if that will make sense. So if I hit shift select, and I'll give this one a maximum width of 1200. And then we can also give it a minimum width. We'll set the minimum width to the current width. So now we can set a fixed value of 1200 and everything stretches. I'm going to apply an auto layout to that variant thing so that, oh, okay, there was already one there, but I see it's cutting these things off. So everything that's in here should fill, and everything that's here should be fixed. Don't clip the content. Thank you. So this should hug. Let's see. Yeah, that's interesting. So I can say 24. Oh, that's just me playing around with wrap. So let's not do that right now. Let's ensure that everything is in there. Let's not give anything a fixed width right about now. What? Huh. Interesting. Okay. Is this truly an auto layout? It's wild. Okay, cool. Never mind. Let's not major on the minors. Gonna make sure that it feels. What? Something's definitely wrong here. So okay, let's inspect. So we have a cell content. No, sorry, that should hug. Hey man, what is happening here? Okay, we have content, then we have an additional cell, but there's some additional spacing there. What is happening? Okay, I'm not gonna worry about this because it's gonna cause me stress. It's the way I think the way I engineered this thing. Okay, cool. Let's also set that one to fill the container, and this one as well is set to fill. Right, so now we have content, which is wonderful. Now this cell is supposed to be a fixed width of 36, I believe. Yep, and then the children within the cell. Yeah, that's weird. So I'm gonna reset those changes. So body cell content. I'm just gonna copy this one. Cool. That should fix this problem. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Yeah, we have a checkbox, and we're gonna make sure that it's selected. We're gonna change that to 900, and that did not apply. Hectic. Take your time. Cool. I hope that fixes all of the problems. So okay, so now this is the only one. So all the content ones are the ones that I would like to fill the container. That is also strange. Let's see. Okay, so I have a row, a default row that has, okay, I think I know what I think I know what is happening here. So this one is set to 1.2. What is the actual size of this? I think the only problem is that we tried to cool, that should be a fixed size. That one. It's weird. I just want you to hug your content, bro. Don't do that nonsense. But now I can't. This other one doesn't want to hug its content. Strange. Could that be the issue? how, how did I make these things? Never in my life have I been so stressed by something I've done. Hectic. That is wild. Shoo. Okay, cool. That seems to be solved. Alright. So if I stretch this should be fine. But there should be an amount it should not go beyond. And I would also like it in such a way that there should be an amount it should not go below. So that's minimum width. I think we said 7. Um, let's set that to fill. Yeah, that's 7 or 8. So if it gets to 7 or 8, then it should stop being responsive. Aha, issues. Let's set this thing to 7 or 8. Right now, select all our children. Actually, there's something that irks me about this short keycaster thing. Sorry, let me open it. Where is it? Preferences. Display keycaster icon. No. Select visualizer. I wonder. Okay, let's see. It's not behaving as though. Nope, nope, no. Oh, I see now. Those are all set to hug 000. Okay, and then the children. What is this up? What is this set to? This is this. Let's make it yeah. Okay. Then we go inside. It's set to fill. Cool beans. So that means now we should be able to say hug. Then we say fill. Nope, doesn't work. Interesting. So let's first look at the base component. How does this one actually work? So it does resize. Okay, I think I know what mistake or what's actually happening. It's because we've applied this thing here. We've applied the wrap here, but we've given it a maximum width. What we need to do is we need to give the babies, the children, a minimum width as we had done. So I think we made them 200. Now this thing is not working. Guys, I'm not a fan of what's going on today. Yeah. Cool. Let's see if we apply the wrap here again and make the alignment top left. Cool. I think that should be fine-ish. What I want is I want these to be aligned actually to the top, not the center, because once it starts resizing, it looks like vomit. So let's try again. I think that should probably be the issue. Yo, hi. Okay. Let's also hug the contents. Let's see. Fill. What in the world? Hey, man. And then what did the children said to? Yeah, fill the container, man. let's just make sure something is not happening here. Hey, thought so. Wow, that's gonna suck. Shoo. Okay. Set all the children to fill their parents. Right, and let's go up and set this one to fill its parent. I don't think that was difficult. Yes, that's what I needed. So for some reason it seems the instances weren't taking um what is this thing called? It wasn't taking the updates that I was doing to the main component. So that was a bit dodgy. But I think the gist of it is that we've applied within the children, the in the content, right? So because our content, we have a row, we have a content cell, a content component, and there we've applied maximum width and minimum width, and that should apply to its babies. So as soon as content reaches 7 or 8, it stops resizing down. So that's as low as you can get it. But as I was saying, that you can't really, that doesn't make for a good user experience, right? Typically, you would want to have, and I'm gonna detach, so I'm gonna just probably copy this out. And how one way I've seen tables being done is, let's see, now we have a row. Let's do this, detach that one. Yeah, cool. One way I've seen tables being done is that this becomes a horizontal thing. And let's just ensure that it resizes down to the, yeah, those are still proper cells. Yeah, so you'll have that as a row. We'll have to do away with that for now. We'll hug. Let's remove the wrap. Let's just make it horizontal. We'll give let's remove max width and min width. Cool. Yeah. So what I would do is you would have your individual columns as rows now on mobile, because it's a tricky thing, man, to did you hug? Cool. Don't know what this thing is doing today. Hey, we're all learning, guys. New features. There's no min width there. Let's go back up and go inside. Yo, so we're still within this one. Remove min and max. Cool. Otherwise, command delete, it goes away. Command delete again. Oh, did it give itself padding? That's dumb. But okay, it tried. So yeah, that's what I would do. Like I would just make sure, in fact I'll just convert these back from being numbers so that everything is aligned. Then I would either have like the label, so year, make, and stuff like that, right? So I would make it that way, and that would just be my mobile table. Tables are a bit tricky on mobile because of real estate and a whole host of other issues. Um, but they do work in some instances where there's a volume of data. You would just rather have a scrolling table like this, so you'd maybe show um, just about that piece. So let me just push it to the bottom. Ugh, didn't select anything. Low. Uh, wrong, wrong shortcut. Yeah, but you would just rather show that piece, and this would be your mobile viewport. Then you would then have like a scroll bar going through for users to be able to see. But yeah, so it depends on the data that you're showing. But anyway, um, this is us fiddling with minimum width and maximum width. Um, what else do we have to show? IT, what did we do here? Oh yes, we made a card some time ago, and then I'm just going to open this one where we were playing around with tokens. But I think this one for tokens we'll be able to explore a bit later when we start converting some of the immutable tokens into variables that Figma has so graciously given us. And then we were also doing, oh, you know what I would like to do? Because on Quasi, and I know I'm all over the place, but we were working on inputs. Yeah, no, this MacBook is now going through it. CPU usage is at like 30 something percent, so it's the utmost best. Cool. So here, because we did these inputs, yeah, that's about enough. I'm gonna hit return, and that selects everything. What I want is I want this size that they currently are to be the minimum width. So I'm gonna set that to current width, and then I would like to have a value that they don't go beyond. So a maximum width, I'm gonna probably say 400. And I want to see how this impacts the other stuff, like the places where I'm implementing these components. Cool. Let's hit return. And we'll apply that as well. We want this minimum width to be the current value to be, or the current width to be the minimum width, and we would like for a maximum width to be most important thing is the height. That I don't want people to fiddle with the height. So I want the minimum height to be what it currently is, and I would like the maximum height to be what is the current height right now. And we're gonna have to publish this. We'll try and see if we can use it elsewhere. Cool beans. Publish. And then let's just be kind to ourselves. Added min, max, width, and height. Oh, that's not ready for publishing yet. Cool. Now, auto layout new features. I think we can stop that. Card. Yeah, I think we can work around with this. So with the card component, oh, that's actually cool because we already have my son and my wife are busy fighting out there. We already have a grid, a row of objects. And I think what's most likely going to happen here is that if you resize it too small, the cards are going to go beyond a width that they should not be doing. So we can apply wrap here. This is going to be cool. But also, okay, let's do it this way. Let's give this one a full color of right. That's the full color. Then we're going to tell this thing that it has a maximum width. We're also going to give it a minimum width. So I'm going to give it a minimum width of 320. That's the minimum width on the cards component. Then I'm going to give it, wait, that is to say that this card can't be less than 300. So I'm going to give the card container a minimum width. I'm also going to give it a maximum width of 1280. Cool. And you'll see that it starts to reorganize itself. And then I'm going to tell it to wrap as soon as it hits a certain size, it should start wrapping. Our work's not complete. We're gonna have to hit in fact, let's go to the component because I think we did that. And we're gonna give it a minimum width of 300. As soon as it gets to 300, you'll start to see that when I made the minimum width of the component 300, it readjusted itself and then sent the one below, and it told it to fill the hole, which is the instruction, right? So the instruction of each of these cards is set to fill the container, which is great. So, but what we want to do is that we want to instruct the card component that, hey dude, don't go beyond a certain amount. So that certain amount is going to be 360. Maximum width 360. So that means we'll have a misalignment, and I am not fond of that because that one is set to 300 and that's within the minimum width. So what we can do, cool, dude, I didn't think this is going to be so helpful. This is going to be so cool. Like, you could already start imagining the applications you could like build with this. That's super cool. So I'm gonna set I'm actually gonna change the minimum width. I'm gonna make it in such a way that it's not too far away from the maximum one. So the minimum one has to be 360 as well, so that I can achieve that alignment. Yep. Yeah. So I think that's already cool. And then that's mobile, tablet, desktop. And I think as you go, but you can't go beyond a certain point. But yeah. So that's cool. Happy with that. Um how was this constructed again? Just simple auto layout. That's cool. So we're refactoring our work, and it makes sense. Tables are tricky, so it is what it is. We'll take we'll take the good with the bad. This has been published, so that's fine. And now what's happening here in tokens? Nothing apparently. Control Shift T. The nice thing about maximum width is that you can actually give a frame a maximum width, and you can set the elements within that frame to take up all the space. And if you add new stuff, that stuff goes on to the next layer. Let me give you an example. So in this frame, I believe I justified the stuff to auto, so I can now say wrap, right? Then I can give it a maximum width, which is the current width. And I can give it, let's just give it a maximum width. Now I can just, if I duplicate something and add more stuff, you see that it just continues on its own, right? So that's the cool thing, is that now you, in addition to having the power of flexible frames with that auto layout gives you, you can also have flexible but to a reasonable stopping point. Then from that stopping point, when you duplicate some data, the data knows to just automatically go below, which is cool. You can do it also height wise, right? So I could say, let's give it a maximum height. And I'm going to say 100. And we could do the same. We can start duplicating stuff, right? And once it gets to 100, the frame stops growing. You see, if I clip the content, you'll see that the frame stops growing. So you can actually now add some logic to your frames, and they should behave like real life data. So you could say, for a text frame, for example, you could give that text frame a maximum. You can actually tell it to fill the container, and I'll just duplicate this. But you see that you start having issues where it's deforming your UI. I think the best one to do for this one is to actually set it to truncation and have a maximum number of lines. Then you could just simply continue, continue, continue. Then on that frame, you'll see that it starts having a truncation symbol that says, hey, your text goes beyond what I normally allow, so I'm just going to show that first bit. But whereas you have a lot more text below that. So I think that's going to be very empowering for people like me who are system designers, because I can create a card like this one, and I probably should do it now, is that I can tell this thing, hey, fill the container, but in the text itself, I want to limit that to 3 lines. So whatever the publisher or whomever that is, whatever that publisher does in the way of publishing their content, they can never get more than certain amounts. So let's put it a very long name here, and that's how I typically stress test my stuff. That should set to full the container. Cool, right? Then I can also say, what else can I add here? Let's undo that. What else can be added to this very nice thing where I can collect some information about people, right? So I can control what the UI looks like, and if I say that 2 lines is too long, I can just limit that to 1. And now I've got a cleaner UI. I'm going to say for this text, I'm going to limit that to 2 because 3 is a stretch. And that's great, right? So now I can now say, okay, let me just add maybe 8 pixels of padding in between, maybe a bit more. Seems a bit squashed, right? And you see, it works quite fine. So those kinds of things where you have a, you have to have a limit on the text, otherwise it will deform your UI. Those are quite important, and I think these are the updates that we needed for those kinds of things. So that was fun. So we've added truncation, we've added minimum and maximum width. We've also added wrap in some instances. Particularly here, so I would like that to wrap as soon as it hits that maximum width of the current width. So that if I add, if I add more of these, I can start seeing a wrap. But what I also want is I want a bigger gap here. So maybe let's say a gap of 12. Sorry, my bad. Should undo that. Yeah, let's make sure that's a gap of 12. You see, so that sort of allows for a lot more data to be shown there. Whether or not that's good practice is yet to be seen. But these are sort of like real life applications of the changes that have been brought in by Figma. So that should be cool. I'm gonna make sure that's set to auto, and that should be fine. I'm happier with that. Happier than most things. Cool. Let's see here. by tokens. What do we have? A loading file. There's not much to change here. No, there's not much to change here. Okay, cool. This was fun. To me at least, lol. So that should be cool. Until next time, guys, I will be working on a video for variables very soon. Very soon could be tomorrow. It mostly depends on how I feel. So I'll be working on a video for variables. Then I'll also do advanced prototyping, which I tried today a bit earlier, and I can say it is going to change your life. But until then, let us see each other some other time.